Hello again YouTube, it's me. Right, I decided some of the videos I was going to make was the things that I've searched for and struggled to find. So trying to give back, if you like. So hopefully you'll find this one useful. When our landlady decided to replace our boiler about 18 months ago, we were used to a normal conventional boiler, hot water tank. Took ages to heat up. If you wanted a bath you had to pre-plan it by about 2 hours. Washing up was a nightmare as well. We just used to boil the kettle, just didn't bother heating up the water because it took so long. Radiators never really got properly hot. They were just sort of lukewarm. Towel rail in the bathroom never really got warm at all. So we've now got this super duper condensing boiler. It's a Baxi condensing boiler, and we can't believe how much gas we've saved. It's really efficient, and it's a bit of a strange beast in relation to an ordinary boiler where you just literally turn the heating on, turn the heating off, and you never really touch it at all. So I thought I'd just show you some of the basics of how it works, how you can adjust it to fit your lifestyle. So the boiler itself is there. It's a Baxi DuoTec, and I think it's 28 kilowatts, which for this 4-bedroomed house with 3 bathrooms in total, heats it brilliantly. 10 radiators and a towel rail. Gives a really good flow rate for the hot water as well. As you can see, it's quite attractive. Fits in well if it's in a kitchen or a utility or wherever. I think it'll fit in a standard cupboard as well, but that's something you'd have to maybe arrange with your installer, or try and get a cupboard that matches the rest of your kitchen or whatever. So just underneath this front flap is where you'll find all the controls. So starting across here, that's an optional timer. I think you can get a digital one as well, but we went for the analog one. That's your pressure gauge, and I'll come on to that in a mo. Controls for the hot water and the heating, and that's your temperature, and that's the selector button and reset. So if I start with the timer, when I first saw one of these things I didn't have a clue. I was like, what are all these funny pegs and what have you? It's actually so simple. Just there you'll see the options for off, timed and on. So at the bottom it's off at the moment, in the middle it will be on timer, and on the top it's on constant. And then along the top and around you'll see all these numbers that relate to the times for on and off. And basically if the pegs are out, it means the heating's on, and if the pegs are in, it means the heating's off. So you can see hours comes on at 5 PM and goes off at 10 PM, and at the bottom there it comes on at 6 and goes off just about 7:45 thereabouts before we leave the house. So all you do to adjust the heating is move these pegs in or out. I use a knife or something just to poke them with, and when the times change, when the clocks go forward or back, you'll see that tiny little arrow there relates to what time it is now, and you just turn it clockwise around to get to the right time. So you advance it an hour or put it back an hour so your heating comes on at the right time. Now this gauge is quite important. You'll see the green area is the safe area, and the red means that it's either under pressured or over pressured. With all, well not all, but majority I think of all new, well it might be all, I'm not sure, but a lot of heating systems now pressurised. It means they're sealed, so you don't have tanks in the loft like we used to have. It's a sealed system, and that gauge there tells you how many bars of pressure are in the system, and the normal operating pressure is about 1 to 1.5. So when it's cold like now, you can see the gauge is just above 1. It seems to be when it's colder the gauge is a little bit lower. I'm assuming because it's a warm day, the pressure in the heating system is a little bit higher. But as long as that gauge doesn't go above about 2.5, you're fine. So if that gauge drops below where it's supposed to be, so when it's getting sort of below 1, you have to top the pressure up on the system. And on this boiler, if I just show you underneath, you've got those little wheels, and you can see just that. You've got one left and one right, and basically you twist them, that one towards you and that one away from you, till you hear water hissing, and you'll see that gauge start to rise. Sorry, that gauge there starts to rise, and then once it gets to about 1.5, you twist those knobs the other way and get it to stop. For goodness sake, don't leave them open, because otherwise you could over-pressurise the system and can cause all sorts of problems. So you usually have to do that about once a year, because apparently the pressure just drops naturally because the water's hot, so it evaporates. So that's your pressure. Now just here you see hot water. At the moment that's set on about 49. Siren's going past, sorry about that. Which is more than hot enough. I mean, there's no point in heating your water to, well, the maximum on it is 60. There's no point in heating it to 60 degrees and then putting a load of cold water in it, because you've just wasted gas heating it up. So you're better off having it about that rate, and that's normally hot enough for washing your hands, having a bath, whatever else you like. You don't have to worry about temperatures too much with water on combi boilers, because it's not being stored. You're going to get problems with things like Legionella and mould and what have you, like you would with a normal hot water tank, which you have to heat to about 65 degrees. So this is only if you've got a combi boiler, because some of these boilers aren't combi, they've still got a hot water tank, and that's a whole different kettle of fish. You need to make sure your water's sort of 65 degrees or more to stop any nasties and bugs and other nasty stuff you get in your hot water tank that you don't want to be going all over you in the shower. This one here is for your temperature for your radiators. Right, it goes from 25, you can see that, all the way around to 80. Okay, now 80 degrees is too hot. It doesn't need to be that high. I run ours usually at about that 63 degrees. That means that your return temperature on your water is going to be 55 degrees or below. That's so that you get condensing. These boilers are super efficient. They condense, they use the heat that would normally go out of the flue to preheat water coming back to the boiler, which means it doesn't need to work as hard to heat it up again. But to do that, the water's got to be at 55 degrees or lower coming back into the boiler. So at that temperature, because the water's going all around your system, giving out heat from your radiators, the water comes back at usually about 50 to 51. I think I've measured it at with my laser thermometer thing. So that means I know my boiler's always working as efficiently as it possibly can, and I'm getting as much gas out of the money that we're paying for gas as possible. Much heat out of the money, so I'm not explaining myself very well. As much heat as possible out of the money we're paying for gas. And then this one here, never really touch it. That one is either off, which is the 0. That's telling you heat and hot water is available, and that one there, the R, is reset. So if you ever get an error code on that little screen there, which it apparently does sometimes, you'd turn that to reset the boiler, which I've never had to do. So on here you'll see that there's a light for the burner and a light for the radiators and a light for the hot water. So on a day like today, obviously I haven't got the radiators on, but if I turn the boiler on by opening the hot water tap, see the temperature climbing, and if I show you outside, even on a warm day like today, we'll still get some steam coming from the flue. In a mo. Okay, probably not today, but normally if it's a little bit cooler than this, you still get some steam from the flue from the condensing. You can see that it's holding the water temperature at 55 degrees, which is what I want. You can see steam coming off the water. And the flame light's gone out. There we go. And just down here on the lid you can see some basic instructions of what things mean. But I'm hoping that, especially if you've got a boiler like this, I think the Potterton boilers and Main, I think is the other company, they're all the same as Baxi, they're made by the same people, so your boiler might look a little tiny bit different. It might have little lights instead of that temperature display there that show the temperature. It might not have this flap on the front, but they all basically work about the same. So hopefully that's helped you a little bit if you've got a boiler like this. I know that I didn't find much in the way of help online when we first got this boiler, but from what I've learned from it, it's a fantastic machine. If you're looking for a new boiler, I know Baxi still make the DuoTecs, but they look a bit different than this now. I think they look a bit ugly, to be honest, but this one, it looks nice. It's really, really efficient. If you can still get hold of one of these, if you ask your installer or your plumber, it's well worth it. I think the boiler was about 800, 850, obviously minus all the other stuff that needed doing as part of the installation. But so far it's been a fantastic boiler. It had a 2-year warranty. No doubt Baxi will start sending out a load of bump getting us to extend it and what have you when it comes to the end of it, but that's for my landlady to sort out. And knock on wood, there's not been a single problem with this boiler yet. Another thing actually, especially if you're getting a boiler installed, if you look there, you'll see that white pipe. That's the condensate pipe that takes all the liquid away from the condensation process. And if you look under there, you'll see it goes down and then it goes along and basically goes under the sink, under there, and joins the sink trap. So at no point does it go outside, because when it gets really cold, if you remember like a year or so ago, maybe a bit longer, we had those really bad winters where it was like minus 15 or whatever outside, and apparently loads of people's boilers just started failing because those pipes freeze and it basically shuts the boiler down. So if you get your installer to run the pipe inside, either it lagged or whatever, inside underneath your sink into a drain or whatever, and then it really reduces the chance of it freezing, and basically you're left with no heat or hot water when you most need it. So just a little tip, that's one our installer told us. So I'm hoping this little video helped you. Rate it, comment, whatever. If you think it's a load of crap, then just say. But I think hopefully it will be helpful to some people. Maybe you're thinking of getting a condensing boiler or not quite sure how they work, or you've moved into a flat or a house that's got one and they've got no instructions or whatever, no one's ever told you what to do. So hopefully that'll help you. So thanks for watching, and bye for now.